NCC1864 was a Miranda-Class starship used by Starfleet for mostly scientific research missions or supply duty. The Reliant's technical specifications state that the ship comes in at 233 meters long, 72 meters shorter than that of the much more well-regarded Constitution-class refit at 305 meters. Unlike the majority of Starfleet ships, she did not have an engineering hull, only a saucer section, 2 nacelles mounted underside, and a roll bar that contained 2 front-facing photon torpedo launchers and 2 aft-facing launchers. This addition was not standard to all Mirandas, and the criteria for one being implemented most likely depended on the specific ship's mission profile. As the Reliant was tasked with finding a world suitable for the Genesis project by herself, it potentially makes sense for the Reliant to have the extra weaponry in case of trouble. Finishing off her armament are 8 Type 7 phaser arrays arranged in a semicircular pattern around the center of the saucer section, with 3 arrays at the top and 3 at the bottom. There were also 2 more phaser arrays on the port and starboard of the roll bar. When it comes to speed, her top impulse speed was never stated, but could have ranged anywhere up to 1/4 of the speed of light to 1/2, based on speeds given for other starships. Her top warp speed is known, however, coming in at only warp 8, which was roughly equivalent to the Constitution class, with a recommended top speed of the same, with the exception being that the Constitutions could push themselves to warp 9, although the danger of such a speed was so high that it was generally discouraged. Perhaps the most impressive feature of the Reliant was the high-level scanner technology she utilized, such as the Dino Scanner, which was so powerful as to pick up microbes and particles on a planet's surface. Given the nature of her mission in finding a planet utterly devoid of life for testing of the Genesis device, normally a ship like the Reliant would not be noteworthy, as she was a ship primarily meant for scientific research in a seemingly remote corner of the known galaxy doing survey work for a much larger research project in the year of 2285. But that would change dramatically when the Reliant's skipper, Captain Clark Terrell, and his first officer, Commander Pavel Chekhov, detected a barren planet that was potentially suitable for testing of the Genesis device, which was an experimental, yet powerful device that had the means to regenerate matter into new, life-sustaining elements. Beaming down to investigate, they came face to face with Khan Noonien Singh and his genetically augmented followers. He and the other augments had been previously exiled to the planet years earlier by Captain Kirk, after a failed attempt to commandeer the Enterprise. Khan had since burned with a desire to exact his revenge on Kirk, and brainwashed the 2 men to take over the Reliant, intending it to be a vessel to bring him his vengeance. But before he could fulfill his dream, he took the Reliant to the research station developing the Genesis project, and massacred most of the crew aboard searching for the device, having discovered its existence from his interrogations of Chekhov and Terrell. Having received word from the project's director, Dr. Carol Marcus, the Enterprise under Kirk's command intercepted the Reliant, not knowing that Khan was aboard and what he was planning. Khan fully took advantage of this unknown element and launched a vicious surprise attack on the Enterprise that came dangerously close to destroying her outright. Only by using the Reliant's command code to lower their shields was the Enterprise able to return the favor on the renegade ship, forcing her to retreat to safety. After a brief interlude, their battle would eventually resume inside the nearby Mutara Nebula, with both heavily damaged ships playing a deadly game of cat and mouse within the nebular gases that served to limit the sensors and vision of both ships. Admiral Kirk had an edge, however. His years of experience in ship combat allowed the Enterprise to outmaneuver the Reliant, which resulted in Kirk catching Khan off guard and inflicting critical damage upon the Reliant. But Khan had a trump card to play. In the span of time between the first battle and his last, Khan had appropriated the Genesis device. While it was intended for the purposes of creation, Khan in all likelihood saw its potential for destruction. So in a last-ditch effort to kill his hated nemesis, Khan activated the Genesis device on board his ship. If he was to die here, then so would Kirk and the Enterprise. But it was not to be. A heroic sacrifice by Captain Spock aboard the Enterprise brought the warp engines back online again, as the Reliant exploded behind them, with the unique properties of the Genesis device and the nebula gases forming a new planet, simply known as the Genesis Planet. After being blown up through the actions of James Kirk and Khan Noonien Singh, The Miranda-Class the Reliant was based on would go on to have a continuing legacy of exploding in combat. By 2367, Mirandas were used during the disastrous Battle of Wolf 359, which resulted in the loss of all Starfleet ships that participated. They would also be featured prominently during the Dominion War, where they could be seen blowing up regularly in fleet actions against Dominion and Cardassian forces, such as Operation Return, both battles of Chintaka, and the final battle for Cardassia.